Between Daniel and I combined, I'm not sure who has more brain power right now, us or Hey Hey. All right, let's get the show started. Many voices, one community. This is Vox Lorcana. I'm good at this. I've done this before, I swear. We'll just let this go. Hi, family, and welcome to tonight's episode of Vox Lorcana. My name is Scott, also known as Cypher 1000. I'll be your driver this evening. Sitting to my east, coming to you from the Lone Star Studio, we have the wonderful and talented Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Howdy, howdy.
And to the north, broadcasting from Studio Pacifica, we have nobody. Because Rebecca is in Anaheim for D23, presently somewhere around Angel Stadium for the Disney Lorcana activation there. Daniel is back from San Diego and I'm back from Iowa. Both of us desperately trying to keep up with all the Disney Lorcana news, and there was a good bit of it. Among that news was Format Coconuts, a new singleton format currently being beta tested, which we will get into a little later on in the program. We've got North American Continental Championships coming up, and I guess, frankly, the European Continental Championships as well, plus the aforementioned D23. Before we get to that, though, we want to go ahead and bring in our guest and really our co-host for this month. You may have heard Who Watches the Watchmen. Well, tonight we ask and answer the question, who interviews the interviewers? Each week, our guest talks to some of the most interesting people in the Lorcanosphere, from casters to content creators to prominent community members. You can find all of his conversations in the Inkwell Lounge. Please welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love the show. It's great to get a chance to be on here with y'all.
It is great to have you. We've wanted to have you on actually for the past couple months, and for various reasons it hasn't worked out on our end. But I'm glad that we were able to catch up with you now, touch base, and have you on, in this case, not just to talk to you about your own content, but to help us co-host as well, since we have an empty chair at the host desk with Rebecca off gallivanting about Disney.
Yeah, I'll be gallivanting around Disney in about 2 weeks. So
hey, we'll see
buddy.
yeah. I think I might see some of y'all there, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all of us will be there. Rebecca casting, of course, and Daniel and myself and families maybe hunting wild signatures, playing some trio, various things will be engaged there doing. Chris, you talk to a lot of people in Lorcana.
Yes, I do.
So I guess let's just start with why. What brought you to the content table? What keeps you coming back for more?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm trying to remember why I originally started it. Honestly, it was one of those things where, like, I got into the game and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to talk to people locally about the game. And I knew there were so many amazing people out there in the community that I thought, I'm just going to try and see how it goes. And so my first episode was with Jared from Citizens of Lorcana. He was my guinea pig, and he and I hopped on. I think it was like a 30-minute episode or something. Super awkward. The technology was not great. I think I was using just my laptop camera and stuff, but it was super fun and I was totally hooked. And so, I had this huge list of people that I wanted to have on, and of course I wanted to set a realistic cadence for them. And so I decided, once a week was what I was going to shoot for. And so, I just kind of started churning through folks. I had y'all on for an episode. I think I had Daniel, I had you and your daughter, and then I had Rebecca on a separate one. So it's been quite a voyage.
I remember having Lily on, and gosh, that was that was a long time ago. Um,
It
but
was.
what I love is, the storytelling, that archive, right, that you've created. Um, it's we're going on year 3. Um,
Mhm.
there's something really beautiful about that, especially I think when I think about whether it's the community members, the content creators who are, not as active anymore. I mean, you are the chronicle of those stories, and there's something just really beautiful about that. So thank you for all that you do.
Of course. Yeah, it's been a very huge opportunity for me to be able to talk to so many amazing people and to see, how the community has grown over time as well. You early on, it was kind of some of the early folks that, started doing it before the game came out, or, pretty early on once it came out. And then you had some people that were like Katie, Lore Keepers In, I guess now it's Katie Casts. I
Mhm.
think she recently changed. The first time I talked to her was when she was on the Hakuna Lorcana podcast, when she
Yeah.
had a co-host. And then I talked to her on Lore Keepers, and then now I'm looking forward to talking to her in the future, now that she's, a big famous caster and everything. If she has time to talk to me, of course. That's. But yeah, it's been really cool to get to talk to so many people and see this progression of the community over time, and see the growth of people over time. Um, one of the things that really brings me so much joy is to see people like, like I talked to JDZ when, I mean, he was known, he was well known and everything, and streaming basically constantly. But one of the things that he and I talked about was how much he wanted to be an official DLC caster. And I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months after that, it was announced that he was gonna be an official DLC caster, and I was like, "That's kinda cool," to have, talk to him about that before the fact, before he even knew that that was confirmed, was kinda cool. I don't know, kind of the basics, or the early stages, I guess.
Once upon a time, it used to be it became a trope, really, where a professional sports team would win the championship, and then they would briefly talk to one of the stars, and what are you doing next? And they would say, I'm going to Disneyland. um, and it's like, well, what are these content creators and casters and players doing next? Well, now they're casting Disney Lorcana.
Mhm.
It's been, whether it's Rebecca, Katie, JDZ, the list goes on. Folks who are just, I mean, shoot, the first family, Liam and Aaron,
Yeah.
folks who are just doing it for no other reason than for the love of the game. And before sometimes there is even a game to love. We just knew that something had existed, but there was no rules. There was barely any art for it.
Mhm.
Um, and just from that passion and consistency, uh, parlaying that intentionally or otherwise into some of these gigs that they've gotten, it's really a cool thing to see.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how people have progressed through the community. It's not just, oh, they just do content creation, they just do this, to come from basically just a player of the game all the way up to an official DLC caster, or, some of the people that I've interviewed have won DLCs. To see the progression on that stuff it's been amazing. It's one of the things that really keeps me doing it, honestly.
That was the one that comes to mind. There is Brandon.
Yeah.
He started at B Squared, started as a content creator, moved into caster, and now he is uh, he's qualified for North American Continental Championship. So we'll see him
Yep.
here in a couple of weeks. As people's relationship to the game and with the game has evolved, your content has evolved to some extent as well. How has your relationship to the game and to your content changed?
So I think, it's interesting that, this is my first TCG. I've never played, I mean, I played a little bit of Magic in the past, but not like to the level of this. But to be able to like go full force into a community and really dive in and really get to know the people of the community, it's been amazing for me. And those early ones, like I said, the early interviews were a little rough. You kind of have to get your feet under you. But with enough practice and repetition and everything, it kind of got a little smoother. Um, but originally, I had started out the channel as Lorcana chats because that was the focus, right? I was just talking to community members. I was just focusing in on those conversations and not really anything else. But then I guess about a year or so ago, I figured, there was more to it than that, right? I wanted to kind of expand out a little bit more and have the flexibility to be able to do some other stuff with the channel if I wanted to. So I went through the whole rebranding process of going to Inkwell Lounge and, making it a little more general. I still had the community conversations are still that kind of foundation for the channel. But I've also done some other stuff like talking about the gear that I use for like here at my desk. I've also done a lot of like on the spot interview kind of things at the DLCs. There's been a whole series that I did at Milwaukee and Richmond where I basically just accosted people and, out there on the floor and interviewed them. But to be able to have a space where it's flexible enough to do that kind of thing versus just having those sit down hour-ish long conversations, it was a little freeing and it was nice.
What do you find more enjoyable? Do you prefer the longer form content? Do you like the quick hits, such as when you're kind of the man on the spot at the DLCs? Where do you find your most enjoyment?
Honestly, it kind of like it tickles different parts of my brain equally. I love sitting down and actually having a long conversation and being able to actually get to know the other person that I'm talking to. Because a lot of these people, like some of them I've talked to online, I talk to them on Twitter and Discord and all that. But a lot of them I just kind of approach and say, hey, I've got this show. I interview people in the community. Would you like to be on? And I do some research beforehand, but I don't have like long conversations with them beforehand. And so to be able to actually sit down, ask those initial questions, get to know them, and be able to share that with the wider audience, that kind of getting to know them process is so rewarding, in my opinion. But then it's also nice to hop up in front of somebody with a mic and just be like, hey, answer these questions real quick. And then I go and I edit it and post it real quick. It's kind of it's a nice, I guess for lack of a better term, a nice palate cleanser every once in a while to be able to say, yes, I don't have to do the prep work. I don't have to do all this other stuff. I can just hop up there, use what's in my head and talk to these people and then post it. It's kind of cool. It's fun.
Chris, would you say that, I think for those listening to this, especially after the fact, do you feel like the content creator space is getting too crowded? Right. And what advice would you have for someone who is, just discovered the game, is passionate about doing something and is looking for some advice?
Yeah. So the biggest piece of advice that I can give to people, besides, just start doing it, that's the hardest part, is don't forget that you have your own voice. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of the same things out there. We all are working around or, playing the same game in the same community, going to the same events, but everybody has a different perspective. And I was talking with one of my latest interviewers earlier and, pointed out the fact that you could be talking about the exact same deck and you could be walking through it the exact same way, but there's going to be something in your background that they don't have in their background. And so there's going to be a different perspective somewhere in there, that little nugget of knowledge that you're going to have that maybe somebody else doesn't. And so it's that kind of thing, that voice that you bring to your content and the passion that you bring to it that's really going to make that difference between you and somebody else. It's so easy to look at your content and say, well, I'm not getting the views that this other person is. Why am I not? My stuff's not as good. But if you keep in mind that you are sharing your perspective and your viewpoint on things, it's a little bit easier to say, okay, so maybe my audience just hasn't found me yet. Or, don't fall into the trap of I should modify my stuff to be more like this other person. It's all about you and your voice and sharing from your perspective and your passion.
Yeah, that's a really important point. The I understand the inclination to kind of either chase after views or really more chase after the style that somebody else does something. But I think it's a giant fallacy. Like, why would you do that? They're already doing it. They've already found that portion of the audience. If you're genuinely trying to grow an audience and get big, the best two things are try and find a different format, a different perspective, do something different than what's already done, and be as you can.
100%.
Because nobody else can replicate that. They can replicate your format. They can't replicate you.
Yep. Really well said. No, I think it's such great advice. I can't remember the actual quote. I was trying to find it on my phone. I don't have it saved. I don't know where it's saved, but DLC Seattle, I remember getting, a good solid 5 minutes with Ryan Miller where he played Pack Rush. And, we had this moment where I asked him, a similar question because, I think back then Lily and I were just getting started. I mean, obviously felt great support from the community, but I had, a bit of that question of like, what direction and what kind of content, again, I have limitations to what I have time for. And he said something very similar, right? Which was number one, just be yourself. And being true to yourself, I think in a way, right, it allows you to share that part of you with the community. And that's something that no one else can do. Right. So I really appreciate your reflection on that. So it's great.
Well, and one other interesting thing about it is that, you build this content and you put it out there for the world to see. And the more that you put out there, the more that people feel like they come to get to know you as well. So that they understand what to expect. They kind of come to your channel, they come to your content, and they're like, it's that comfort level, I guess. They know what to expect, they know what they like, and they like that. And so, to be able to have that be authentically you instead of you trying to pretend to be somebody else, is such a huge component.
One of the, I guess part of the shtick of our early shows is we were sort of trying to replicate talk radio format. And part of that is as hosts for any particular radio program, over time, you do get to know them. It's not just business all the time. It's not just music all the time. Their personality gets injected invariably at some point. And it's when somebody replaces that host, you end up feeling it. It's not the same show. It's because it's not the same person. The whoever is there just isn't quite bringing the same energy, and that's okay. It's just one of those things where if the moment you try to be somebody else, it's over. Yep. just stop, just stop.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier part of what you had begun discussing is some of the gear that you were using in your content. What is a piece of gear that you find yourself enjoying, or maybe it's even software, just something that you rely on that's maybe the backbone of what you're doing right now?
Honestly, the biggest upgrade that I've had is this Shure microphone. I think it's the MV7. I used to use, I think it was the Elgato Wave 3, and it sounded pretty good. But I decided after a while, I was like, okay, I'm gonna upgrade a little bit and, not spend the outlandish, $4,000 on a microphone kind of thing. But But yeah, I picked this one up, and I've been really happy with it. It's one of those things where like I didn't like start content creation and buy everything for it. It was more of like, I'm going to start content creation and use what I have first. So, like I said, I think the first couple episodes were using the webcam on my laptop on my Mac. And I think I had like a little wireless mic that I clipped to my lapel and everything. And then over time, I kind of added on to it. I upgraded things. Now I have like a whole separate desk and everything, and cameras and a panel light. And, but it was one of those things where, I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to, I guess, rush into it and be like, oh, yeah, okay, so I spent all this money. Now I have to do it and feel like some level of obligation. It was more of like, as my content grew, as the channel grew, so did my equipment, and so did my experience, and so did the efforts like editing and everything, kind of grew over time. And I think that seems like that's the best formula, in my opinion, to do it that way, where you're not just like diving all in and trying to make these huge, amazingly impressive things right off the bat, especially if it's your first time, right? So that you are evolving as your content is evolving as well.
So a little bit of nerd talk. So first off, great microphone. Are you using straight USB, or are you running it through an XLR interface somewhere?
No, this is USB. I had an XLR set up before, but my computer decided to not cooperate with it very much. So I had to revert back to the USB one, but it works well.
I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Fantastic choice. I've talked to several folks over the years, Liam and Aaron, Rebecca. There's a number of others. And I will continue to harp on this. If there is one upgrade to do for any particular content that you're doing, the first one, my recommendation is always invest in a dynamic microphone.
100%.
Just hands down. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. It can be used. It can be like $60 or $100, perfectly fine. But the bang for your buck, and if you want to go $250 to $400, like if that's a route that you can and want to do, you're never going to have to change, as long as the equipment itself keeps working. Like, you don't need to upgrade. It's great. So yeah, that Shure MV7 is fantastic. I am glad you didn't go with the SM7B for sure, which
I thought about it. Yeah.
It's a great mic, but it wants a studio setup.
Yeah.
So one day I will go into the Electrolux mic, similar to what Liam and Aaron use. That's what I encourage them to get. I'm glad they did. One day, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a bunch of people that have asked, because I've done those videos about the gear and stuff that I carry around, and those have actually been some of the more popular videos, as far as like, that kind of video versus, the interviews or anything. And I've had a couple of people that have asked me, after the fact. They were like, oh yeah, what did you use for this? Or, because I've had some more mobile stuff that I've used at DLCs. That I haven't necessarily posted about. And so to be able to share that, and to be able to have that, like, it's like, oh yeah, I love it, but here's the drawbacks, here's the things to worry about, versus just looking at an Amazon review, to have somebody who's had experience with the equipment. It's always super useful, so you always try to find those people. But in our community, not everybody has a ton of equipment. So,
right.
You kind of have to be a little bit of an investigator to try to find, I'm always asking people, what microphone are you using? What equipment, what software do you use for your editing and everything? So,
yeah. And especially since for the vast majority of us, it's not our full-time job. This is a hobby that's not necessarily paying for itself. So you're just investing into your passion. You want to be very judicious with the funds that you do have.
Oh yeah. Well, unfortunately, there are a lot of things out there that, like video editors and stuff that are either really cheap or free, that you can get, that you can
Yep.
use. And so, we're not in a time where you have to go out and buy an Adobe suite of software to be able to use, video editing or anything. So it does make it easier. It lowers that barrier a little bit. You have stuff like if you're just making short form content or anything, you can just use like CapCut or VN or something like that. That's just like simple level editing because you don't need anything fancy for that kind of stuff. I mean, some people do, but a lot of people don't.
So where do you want your content to go? Are there particular guests you would love to have on at some point? Is there kind of a dream end game that you have imagined?
So one of the things that, and this is hugely pie in the sky, obviously.
Good.
What one of the things that I would love to do, and I love doing this right now unofficially at DLCs, is being kind of the roving reporter kind of person. It's that person that's walking around on the floor, talking to people, getting to know what's going on in the crowd. I know right now we have, like Rebecca and a couple other people that kind of get out and they talk to people outside of the matches or outside of like the formal casting thing. But I would love to be in a situation where I could be roaming around in the crowd with the camera guy and a microphone and just like stop and talk to people and find out what's going on and get the pulse of the community out there. I forget if it was, I think it was Richmond. I talked with one lady that she was working on a trade up challenge, and I just happened to like talk to someone, and they were like, "Oh, you should talk to her. She's doing something interesting." And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course, I'm going to go over there and talk to her." And just to be able to be in a situation like that where you're just out there talking to people, finding interesting things, finding interesting people. I think that would be. I would love that. I would adore that. And now it's not necessarily about my own content specifically, but it's kind of, how I like to approach the community. I love talking to people. I love talking to, about interesting things with people. And so, to be able to share that at that scale, I think would be, I would love it, honestly.
I'm glad you're dreaming big, and I hope you get it. Let's make that.
I know it's pretty big, but I mean, shoot for the moon, right?
Absolutely. I was going to say, is there any other way to dream? Like let's shoot for that moon. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are about halfway through our program, and there's some Disney Lorcana stuff that we need to get into. And so I guess, Chris, what direction do you want to go? What is kind of top of mind for Disney Lorcana for you?
Well, I mean, we've got the championship coming up, so let's talk a little bit about that.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
What are you going to be doing the quest in the, or not quest in the park? It's oh, she just changed the name, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what was that called?
Glimmers.
Glimmer Days.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So are you doing that? And if so, are you doing it Thursday or Monday after?
So I don't know if I'm going to officially do it. I might stop by for some stuff.
Sure.
My wife and younger son are coming with me. And so we're going to spend a day in the parks and kind of roaming around. I imagine at some point they'll probably go back to the hotel and want to chill out, and I will find some people playing Lorcana. So
there you go.
But yeah, no, we decided to kind of make it into like a family trip as well. So it's like right before school and everything. And then they're going to be doing the parks while I'm in the actual, the actual sessions and everything, during the days, the real days. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody so much. I always get so much FOMO about, seeing like people headed to D23 and, some of the other DLC stuff. And it's just, it's just that draw of the community that I love, to be able to be there with everybody and, doing some side events and stuff like that, but not main competitive. That's not my scene.
What
How about y'all?
What side events are you registered for?
True to my limited love, I am signed up for 2 regular sealed and 1 chaos sealed. So we'll see how that goes.
Ooh. Have they said what
Yeah.
packs will be in the Chaos Sealed?
I don't think
It's
so.
chaos.
Heath and I were talking earlier, and he thinks it's probably the last 4 sets, but
Okay.
not 100%.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were sticking to that or if it was just we'll pull something out of the warehouse and see what sticks.
I mean, I'm sure they've got some Inklands around somewhere. So
People will be selling into the Inklands when we are dead and in the ground still. Not that I hope that's anytime soon, but yeah, that there's a lot of that product. Daniel, what are
Mhm.
you going to be diving into when you get to North American Continentals?
Yeah, Lily and I have attendee tickets, and I think right now we're signed up for, I think, 1 core, 1 sealed, and then we got a trio event with you. So that's gonna be super fun.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Yeah, I'm mildly nervous about that. Like I'm super happy to do it. I just hope that I represent both of y'all well. But like I don't want to be the weight that drags us down.
depends on what colors you get
Is it
stuck with.
Yeah.
is it the core
No,
constructed
no,
trio, or
it's
which
the
one is it?
sealed, the limited trio. So yeah,
Oh,
you get a
okay.
booster
All
box,
right.
and everyone has to build, and each you can only use 2 colors. So it ends up being
Wow.
interesting. I mean, I think it's very much, whatever the cards bring you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so,
Well, that's one of the best parts about like any of the limited formats. It's not did you bring the best deck? It's not did you get in the reps with the deck? It's more about like did you get any good cards? If you didn't, it's going to be a tough time.
and
Yeah,
that's okay.
there's only so much you can
Yeah.
do with a card pool that doesn't want to cooperate. So we've got the artists were announced. The one that sticks out to me is Tom
Amazing.
Bancroft.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Mushu in hand. Like I've already got it ready, but I am so excited about that.
Oh yeah. Yep. Mine are sleeved and in a little stack on my desk. I'm getting it ready.
Do we know? I presume they'll be there, but are they going to be doing meet and greets with the designers again as well?
So details have not been announced, but
Okay.
I would say most likely yes, right? Again, I didn't do any of the DLCs in the US, but at Dortmund, it was announced pretty late, right? They didn't announce who the devs were, but they had at least 2 devs, and they did Pack Crush, right? So you can sign up for that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know they had that at Continentals last year, and then of course Steve and Ryan were there in addition to the other developers. I know Fletch was one of them. I got to sit down and chat with him for a bit. Unfortunately, he won't be there as he is no longer with the company anymore. But yeah, hopefully they have some of the devs and Ryan and Steve back on hand. Anybody that you're rooting for or hopes to see do well in the big tournament?
Chris, can I go first?
I'm a bad community member. I haven't really kept track of who's going to be in. I mean, if you read me a list of names, I could probably say yes, that person or that person. But offhand, I could not tell you. I'm such a bad Lorcana player.
I'd say for me, it's and Chris, you shouldn't feel bad. I mean, I think, unless you're really spending time on X, I think there's not really a platform that helps you keep track of, who the top 32 are. I mean, other than Ink Decks, right? But it's kind of hard to keep track of like how people are doing. I mean, I think someone created like an ELO website at one point in time. But I think, sort of high level, my books are the folks that have, been grinding all season. And season 2 has been a different, right, type of season. And it's those who have gotten close but not quite made it. I mean, those to me are like they're not quite underdogs, right? but I think I'm excited to see, them, kind of chase the gauntlet through their pods. You know, and then of course those who already qualified, I think, just excited to cheer them all on. I mean, I think, what probably the number one player for me that I'm just have a big heart for is Logan, right? Zenulus,
Yep.
and hoping
Mm-hmm.
he makes it out of last chance qualifiers. Doesn't die to some or get eliminated from some teammate casualty from Team Maelstrom. But there's I think there's what I love is that there's there's more teams than there were last year. There's more folks who, again, in a very open meta, are cooking, and I think I'm excited to not necessarily just cheer people on, but cheer on as we learn who's brought something really spicy,
Yeah.
right? And essentially crack the meta. I think moments like that, given just where we're leading up to, is really exciting to think about. So
Yeah, and Logan, of course, playing this weekend at the CCQ and D23.
yep.
So hoping that he doesn't have to worry about the last chance qualifiers and just locks it up on I guess it would be Sunday. So yeah, hope he does well there. Really, all of the qualified folks from Maelstrom, wishing them the best. Looking forward to cheering them on. Same with the folks from Team Infinity. Mo and Brandon, and I think they've got there was 3 that qualified in successive weekends. The third name is escaping me. Apologies to that team member. Ed Chu, always look forward to whatever he brings. Yeah, there's quite a few folks that are already qualified, and like you said, that LCQ, man, that is an absolute gauntlet. We'll see what shakes out of that. Any predictions on possible announcements that we will get during the Continental Championships?
I hope we get the full layout for season 3. I don't know if they're going to do the whole thing. That we might get a little teaser, but yeah, we'll see. Honestly, and I was talking with somebody earlier, that their basic impression was that season 1 was kind of a season that didn't necessarily, like, it didn't shake out how it was supposed to. Yes, there were a lot of DLCs, but there was a lot of kind of problems and kind of things they had to work through as well. And that season 2 was a little bit more of like, this is how it's supposed to be structured. Yes, there's less, but for a first round, that's probably what should have been anyway. And then you get to season 3 where they start expanding back out. And I'm kind of hoping, that it's going to be more spread out. It's going to be, maybe different kinds of things at the events, not just the same stuff, because they've been slowly modifying them as they go. So I'll be interested to see, how much of it we get. I think we'll get a little bit of it, though.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for that. Like, honestly, any season 3 information would be welcomed. Information on worlds, dates for worlds would be great.
Is worlds open would be
yeah,
great.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be.
I
That's my
don't
personal
either.
take.
I don't.
Oh, come on, guys.
No,
Well, I'm a realist.
no.
Hope for the best. Hope for the best. Right?
So my thought on that is if memory serves, we got the information for Continentals roughly 8 to 9 months before Continentals, as far as at least knowing the dates and where it would be. We're way, like, there's no way they're pushing Worlds out another 8 to 9 months from now.
Yeah.
So that alone, I think that window's passed, unfortunately. I know there's a few folks out there that are still hoping against hope that it will be open, and they've had funds saved for this year's Worlds, and my fear is they're going to be disappointed yet again. But we'll see what happens. Maybe a spoiler or two. We did get some spoilers, or not spoilers, reveals. for Attack the Vine at the previous DLC. Perhaps we will get some reveals for Hyperia City. That could be in play potentially.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I think a lot for me is gonna hinge on what gets revealed this week at D23, right, on Friday evening.
Yeah.
I think Illuminateers covered a lot of that on Monday night. And again, I'm with Liam. I think getting a roadmap like what they did 2 years ago, which is hard to believe. 2 years ago we saw Black Cauldron, we saw Pocahontas, and gosh, here we are, right? 2 years later. I'm excited to see more of the built out vision for the future. A lot more eyes, right, on Disney Lorcana, a lot more eyes on plans from Disney, from Ravensburger. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing more laid out. I think, to me, it's a different type of audience than what you get at a North American or European championship. So yeah, we'll see.
So
Well, and
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I'm curious to see if there's any announcements about events outside of like the competitive events, because we got like the the Quest in the Park stuff, the Collection Quest stuff that happened in Epcot, to see if there's going to be more announcements about that kind of things happening in the parks or outside of just the competitive sphere. Since it feels, at least to me, like Disney is giving a little bit more credence to the game, that they're kind of growing it outside of just the player base, but I mean, that may be just, again, more wishful thinking on my part.
I don't think it's wishful thinking. I mean, when you look at the collection quests they've done first off in California Adventure, and then at Epcot, use your words, Epcot Center. Now we've got them going on in Paris and is it Japan?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. I think they are being intentional about spreading that out. And honestly, we saw Rebecca and others post that for the Disney Lorcana merchandise at Downtown Disney, they are going to a QR code kind of virtual queue system.
Yep.
I think they're starting to be more and more deliberate about just wrapping their hands around what the Disney Lorcana fan experience is, what the fans expect from Disney, and Disney getting their arms around how can we effectively market to this segment of their base. I think that's. Go ahead.
I think there's, first off, I think the three of us all can agree that this stuff takes time.
Yep.
Right. Like working with Disney and all the various, entities that are involved just takes a lot of time. And, I think things that are, I always like to, and this is the part where, as someone who's never been in D23, I've often gotten my taste of Disney at South by Southwest. 2 years ago, Damara was there, and a lot of what they were talking about 2 years ago. Now that he's CEO, I think we're going to see more of that kind of roadmap play out. One of the biggest things I'm tracking is the fact that consumer products is moving out of Disney experiences, which is predominantly the parks, right, cruise line, and moving into Disney Entertainment Studios in October. And to me, like that's a big deal. It impacts merchandising, right? Scott, hopeful for some Disney Lorcana merchandise, right? I think moves like this tease that, right? For me, they tickle my brain, right? Because I go, obviously, there's so much more consumer products than just Disney Lorcana, but again, it gives me hope that some of that restructuring and alignment could lead to, clear or faster pathways for Disney Lorcana integration. I mean, again, even just a virtual queue, that's part of the Disneyland app experience. You have to download the mobile app, right, to be able to, engage right in that event. I think, the visions of, your Disney sort of super app, again, to me, open these doors and channels for lots of ideas and things, including potentially one day a digital client, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, anyways, I think those are some of the things that I am also going to be hoping and looking out for. I don't think I doubt we'll get a whole lot of announcement on the Friday evening around that kind of stuff, but I think it's an accelerant in my mind. So.
Yeah, and speaking of merchandise, we've got a couple of bits of Disney Lorcana merchandise at D23. We have the 2026 D23 collection, which, similar to 2 years and 4 years ago, is a collection of 6 promo cards from the various sets, including, I believe it was the Hyperia City reveal.
Yeah, Hector.
Oh,
Yep.
Hector. Yeah.
Yep, that was confirmed on the Australia website, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And then we've also got the Quest of Wonders and Illumineer's lore book, which is the first book of its kind. Not the first book, because we have 2 of those already, but the first book of its kind, which will also include the first book-based promo, which, and I believe we've seen the art for that and the lore, and the lore on that card revealed our next Illumineer. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Ryan, but I believe that's it.
Yeah, Ryan or Rayan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And a really beautiful alternate art on that Pegasus card.
It is stunning.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about that
nice.
card.
Yeah. Pegasus has always been one of my favorites too. He's gotten the alternate art treatment on a couple of the DLC cards as well. So it's always fun.
That and I'm pretty sure the DLC one was Baby Pegasus, right? The low cost one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was the participation promo, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
For competitors. Yep.
Yes, for competitors. For being a participation promo, that card hits way above its pay grade, man. That card goes so hard. I love that card. Yeah, the art is fantastic there. We've got a few other bits that Ravensburger will be selling. Disney Villainous assorted games. They've got Darkness Brewing and Success at Any Cost, and then Come We Fly. And they've got some promo cards, it sounds like, there as well. We've already talked about the CCQ that will be going on, and the event on Friday night. It's coming up. That's going to be basically the main stage for all intents and purposes. 6:30 p.m. Pacific, and it will be on their Twitch channel as well. So we can all watch in real time the reveals that they are bringing to us. I hope everybody there gets all the merchandise they want. I hope the lines are short. I hope the food is fantastic, and they have. And frankly, for the Ravensburger team, I hope the reveals that they provide the impact that they want. I hope they get the fan reception that they're looking for.
Oh, I have no doubt that it'll get the reception from the Lorcana folks. It's just, you have a wider D23 audience to worry about. But I think, it's gotten to the point where at least enough people that would be, in attendance or be paying attention to the Lorcana stuff would be excited by the kinds of things they would be announcing. But I don't know. It's still... we're 3-ish years into the game, and it's still really early on when it comes to how it's integrated with a lot of the Disney stuff.
When cast members members still don't know Disney Lorcana, right? Like, to me, that's like, oh yeah, that card game that we have. We're still early. But
Well,
here's an example, like straight out of D23, on X, this evening, someone that I, kind of follow in this Twitter kind of space, from Laughing Place, her son won a trivia thing, and so it was a D23 kind of fan bag, and in that bag was Lorcana packs, right? Moana blanket, other kinds of things, the puzzle. But the fact that, like again, and it wasn't Inkland's packs. It was, I think, Arcasia's Island. But
Okay, all right.
out of
It's
rotation, but here we go.
better, I guess. Yeah.
No, it's yeah. I mean, again, I think to your point of the integration and the awareness, yeah, there's a lot more to do. But
Yeah.
one day they will all discover the Inkwell Lounge, and they will get to pour through the history of Disney Lorcana.
I just want them to get to know the game. I don't care
Yeah.
about any of my
No,
stuff.
no, they get to know the community, right? I mean,
Well, of
that's
course,
what
we
makes
want
it
to do. Yeah,
special.
absolutely.
we need to get you Disney Lorcana famous.
Disney Lorcana famous.
Okay, so Chris, we never talked about this, but at one point in time, I was I really felt, right, we were in year one, and we needed to have a crew that would start working on a documentary, right, about the community more so
Yeah.
than about the game. And I wanted to call it Project Famous.
Nice.
But haven't been able to find conspirators to really make that happen. But you're already doing the groundwork, so keep it up.
I joked about it the other day on Twitter. I said the next thing that we need to do for, like to level up the content for, DLCs or for the community at large is to do like one of those biopics on like DKP or, fungus or,
Yeah.
somebody where it's like you watch the Olympics and it's like, here's where they came from. Here's the, how they got to where they were, that kind of stuff. That I would be all in on that. I would be totally in for helping out with that kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe not a full documentary about the whole community, but something smaller like that would be fun.
Origin stories, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first thing I do when I talk to people.
Yep.
Is I get how they came to the game, why they chose Lorcana, why they stay in the community, all that kind of good stuff. Because it's just such like a foundational kind of thing to know about someone, and then it kind of sets the stage for the rest of the conversation as well.
Speaking of origin stories, we kind of have one in our midst with a new format. Format Coconut is being beta tested right now by the masses at this point. It was previously in closed beta at DLCs. And prior to that, we had a preliminary version with some similar cards and concepts being tested in China. We recently had our 18 coconuts revealed, at least the first batch of them. I don't know if there will be more. Have y'all tried it yet? And if so, what's been your experience with it?
Honestly, I can't say I've tried it. I've looked at it. I saw there's the Robin Hood that does the ping damage. That looks kind of interesting. I had a deck. Oh god, it was a couple sets ago now, probably 3 or 4 sets ago. That was an Emerald Steel, ping kind of deck with a bunch of Robin Hoods and stuff in it. And so I was like, maybe I could kind of revive that a little bit and see if I could work it into something for it. But haven't really gotten much farther than that. So.
It's funny. As soon as I saw those first 18 and saw the Robin Hood, I'm like, that's going to get changed. That's not going to survive.
Oh, come on. Leave the Robin Hood alone.
I wanted it to be left alone. I would have abused that to no end. Daniel, have you had any experience with it yet?
No, we've, I think coming off of Dortmund and playing Infinity, we, barely jumped into post rotation. Really, I mean, we had a fantastic Attack of the Vine pre-release event at Black Castle Games, but I know all the LGSs are starting to roll out coconut events, right? It's now something you can officially filter for in the Robbinsburger Play Hub. So, but I think the coconuts that I've been looking at are, certainly Stitch and Ariel seem intriguing. Googly Glimmers just, shared some updates around the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor card, and given that clarity about Shift 2 applying to any even cards that already have Shift is pretty interesting. So I get some fun builds coming out of that.
Yep, I agree that there's that giant Mickey. I think he's like normally 10 cost or 8 cost.
Oh yeah, the 10-10 Mickey.
Yeah. Like that's being able to play that for 2.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Oh,
yeah.
That's rough.
We've been playing a ton of multiplayer, honestly, since first chapter. Like that's basically almost exclusively how we play in our local game stores. And I think multiplayer with just regular decks works perfectly fine. In some ways, I feel like this current iteration of format coconut is almost a solution without a problem. But at the same time, I can't really say that, because when you look at fan reception to the format, there's at least been a good amount of early hype. We'll see if it gets sustained. I believe it will. But there's clearly a good chunk of the player base that was either waiting to, or at the very least receptive to, a singleton format like this. Have you previously engaged, maybe not with format coconut, but multiplayer in general, or what do you think about the differences between the two?
I don't know if Chris has any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, honest. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, honestly, I haven't played that much multiplayer. I've done it maybe once or twice. And it's a blast. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It's nice to be able to play those, every other opponent, or, other opponents or whatever, those cards. But, I think it seems like, given the format being a singleton format, it does seem like it would bring even more variety to it.
Yes.
Because you're going to have situations where, you have those cards that you put in there for a specific reason, and you may never see them. It seems like the variance of it would be a lot more, not entertaining, but it would bring a lot more life to the format, I guess, than just like a core constructed kind of multiplayer deck kind of situation. So, I mean, it sounds interesting. I don't know if I, would get into it, but it could be fun. I'm happy to be proven wrong, I think is how I put it on my tweet the other day.
Sure. Yeah. I will definitely be building at least one deck, if not 2. I was just talking with some folks in our local meta tonight. It's like, do we want to play this? Yes, we do. We want to, at the barest of minimums, experiment with it. It's not even a concern. I just want to see more coconuts. 18 is fine for the initial batch. I would like to see, I'd like to see 4 times as many to start with. And then maybe every set we get 1 or 2 new coconuts per color, or something along those lines. Or maybe they'll give us like 1 from each color with every new set, and then 1 kind of legacy coconut, if you will, from sets in the past. Just to give some of those previously printed cards an extended life. I've said to Rebecca and Daniel, I would like to see them do franchise specific ones. So your all of your madrigals, or all of your detectives, or all of your whatevers get +1 lore, plus this, plus that, whatever the case is. Some effect that is specific to a classification of card. So yeah, I would like to see something like that, just so that we get more theme coconut style decks. I think the possibilities are endless, and we'll see what the long-term acceptance and adoption of the format is. I do believe there's room for a singleton format. We'll just see what the community thinks.
I love that idea of the theme kind of coconuts. I feel like they've tried so hard in the different sets and in the different IP and everything, the franchises, to find some kind of a cohesive kind of deck that you could play, that it's not quite there all the time. And I think what you're talking about sounds like it could be that kind of missing piece, to where you have this benefit for playing all madrigals or all something like that, so that you do have the benefits and you have all this huge card pool to pull from that's already there. It's just, this is the joining factor,
Right.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add is, most of the coconuts revealed, except for a few, I would say, we're already pretty popular cards, right? So I think, for introducing the format or beta testing it, I think, there's high resonance with, existing players. But something I hope that happens is, we see, some of the more, either deep cut cards or vanilla cards, kind of show up, right? I think that to me then brings even more richness to, again, I think things that you really only experience if you are building a cube, right? For example. Otherwise, I think, it forces you to rethink some of the bulk, right? For example. So.
Yep. That'd be great to see. And what, Daniel, do you have any examples of deep cuts that you would like to see in a format like Coconut? I mean, I know as a franchise, you've talked about Meet the Robinsons. You want to be represented.
I mean, of the existing ones, I think I saw someone create some content recently about, like, with rotation, there are franchises that have completely rotated out, right? And so it doesn't come to mind what some of those are immediately. But I think that's like an example, right? Of just, a card maybe that didn't really, I mean, gosh, okay, I'm going to put it out there. You ready? Why is there not a Gone to Coconut card?
Yes.
Or a Kakamura. I mean,
yeah,
it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Why would it not be?
Yep, that would be great.
That one's too on
It's a little on the nose. Yeah, it is. Sorry.
So, Chris, you had mentioned kind of the cohesiveness of some of the theme and franchise decks out there, and was kind of maybe missing from sets previously. I want to give the development team a bit of credit here. Over the past 2 or 3 sets, I think they have come leaps and bounds from the first few sets when it comes to themes and franchises really working well internally. Like if you want to run a Madrigal deck, there are options out there for you to do that and have them be functional. Now, are they top tier? Maybe not, but still have a great time with them. So I was really happy with the Madrigals. I was really happy with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. That's one that I think could work a little bit better together. But if you just curve out with dwarves, like, you're having a good time with them. And there's a few other examples on that same vein. So versus where we were in sets 1, 2, and 3, I think they've done a bang up job with the themes and the franchises and how they work well together in these more recent sets.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, look at toys.
Absolutely.
Just think about how well, that's just been amazing in these latest sets. So
I did not envision how well received Toy Story was going to be as a franchise. Like, I didn't know how popular Buzz and Woody were. I guess I should have, because there's 5 movies. But man, did that catch me off guard. Yeah, that was
Well, and it doesn't help that it was like right around that time that I think all the, for lack of a better term, scalpers,
yep.
found out about the game and they were like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, Toy Story. Everybody loves Toy Story. I got to buy it. And so it just like exploded on both fronts. You've got this huge Toy Story fan base that was all about the new set, and you have all these people trying to cash in on it, and so it just absolutely exploded. So.
Well, we have reached our hour mark. Before we part ways, Chris, do you have any final thoughts you would want to impart us with?
Not really. I mean, I'm looking forward to, to championships and getting to hang out with folks and getting to see everybody. If you happen to be wandering around and see a crazy guy with a microphone accosting people with a camera, then that's probably me. So stop me, say hi. I'm always happy to meet folks.
Right on. We're looking forward to you being there and catching you in your element while you hunt down wild interviews.
Yep.
And Daniel, any last thoughts from you?
We didn't get a chance to talk about it much, but Lily and I got a copy of the Eliminator's Quest from Gen Con, and we got to play through the first, scenario and to rescue Piglet. And if you watch the video on or the live stream from Gen Con, I mean, it's a blast to play. It is hard. I would say hard to tell if it's harder than Jafar, right? Palace Heist, but I am really excited for October to come. I think that's going to bring a lot of excitement. I'm excited for it because it's a beloved franchise. The IP is great. I think it really also like speaks to a D&D type of board game-ish audience, even more so than the other Illuminator quests have done. So I'm looking forward to the fall. I think there's a lot going on with Disney Lorcana, but those are some things I'm looking forward to. And again, North America Championships is my birthday weekend, so it is my 40th
Nice.
birthday weekend. Quite the
Nice.
milestone. So really just looking forward to seeing all of you in person.
With the Great Honey Rescue, are you going to be running events at your game stores like you had for the previous iterations of Illuminator's Quest?
We are, yeah. So we've already got, both Game Castle and Black Castle have events scheduled in Ravensburger Play Hub for it. Assuming we have enough copies, right, we'll be, running a big campaign, right? The largest raiding party ever. Right?
There you go. There you go. Maybe one player per I guess it's not theme, but class. Paladins
Yep.
and Rangers. And there you go.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. On behalf of Chris from Inkwell Lounge and on behalf of hosts Rebecca and Daniel, thank you for tuning into this episode of Vox Lorcana and spending a little time with us tonight. And always remember, Lorcana means family. Good night, everybody.